Hear me okay? Great.
To your right.
All right, great. Well, first, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul, and I am joined by several folks who work day in and day out to support efforts to fight internet crimes against children. Some here in Wisconsin and others from around the country. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you to everybody who's part of this press conference. We're here for the 5th annual Wisconsin Internet Crimes Against Children, or ICAC, Task Force Conference on Missing and Exploited Children. At the Department of Justice, our top priority is public safety, and I don't think there's any greater responsibility that we have than keeping our kids safe. One of the ways we work to do that at DOJ and at law enforcement agencies around the country and around the state is by investigating what happens online, crimes that target children, in some cases for exploitation. Now, the internet is a part of almost everything we do these days. That's true not only for adults, but for children as well. And it's critical that we have law enforcement who are working to protect kids online. Increasingly, as a parent, keeping your kids safe means ensuring that they have knowledge and understanding, not only about how they stay safe when it comes to interacting with strangers or when crossing the street, but also when they're going online. There are over 300 law enforcement agencies and other child-serving professionals from around the country who are attending this conference and are working on expanding their skill set in this area. Now, for a little background, the Wisconsin ICAC Task Force began in 1998, so it's a little over 25 years old, and things have changed dramatically when it comes to online technology and the work that ICAC teams do in that time. We now have about 320 affiliate agencies around the state of Wisconsin. The task force offers a variety of services, and that includes investigation and prosecution of offenders of internet crime, investigative and prosecutorial assistance for police agencies and prosecutors, victim services, training for law enforcement officers and prosecutors, as is happening at this conference, and coordination of internet safety education for parents, teachers, and community members. We've got some great online resources that I encourage you to take a look at if you're interested and to make available to parents. Now, this critical partnership between the Wisconsin ICAC Task Force and our affiliates is strengthened through conferences and trainings like this one, where law enforcement officers can learn more and enhance their skills, but can also build partnerships and working relationships so that the expertise developed by some officers in the cases that they work on can be shared with other officers as they approach similar challenges. One of the important issues being discussed at this conference is the rise in sextortion cases around the country. Now, first, other speakers are going to talk in more depth about what those cases are and what that term means. But basically, this is a form of child exploitation where children are threatened or blackmailed, most often with the possibility of sharing images online or with the possibility, or often involving demands for additional images or for resources. I mentioned before that when it comes to being a parent in this context, the same principles apply here that they do elsewhere. Talking to a stranger online can carry dangers just like talking to a stranger in person can. Making sure that our kids are aware of those and what can happen if they're not aware of them is critically important. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children last year received nearly 187,000 reports of online enticement. That category excludes sextortion, among other things. We believe that here in Wisconsin, our ICAC team at the Department of Justice sees approximately 2 to 3 of these cases per week, though sometimes that number is higher. And in these cases, it's critical that children know that this is not their fault. They are the targets of those who are committing crimes. They're the victims of these crimes. It's critical that kids know that there's a trusted adult who they can talk to about a situation when it arises. When that happens, law enforcement can intervene before a situation escalates and kids can be kept safe. So again, thank you to everybody who is participating in this conference. Thank you to those who are committed to combating internet crimes against children. Your work makes our communities safer and it helps to protect kids. And again, that is the most important responsibility that we have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge and the Wisconsin ICAC Task Force Commander, Jesse Crow, who's going to talk more about some of these cases. Jesse?
Thanks, sir.
Good afternoon. So one of the things that we brought together here is a large group of law enforcement and partners from both Wisconsin and outside of Wisconsin, including fellow ICAC commanders from South Carolina, San Jose, California, and Michigan are with me here today to support this training, but also support our outreach that we're going to be doing for Sextortion. This conference is about that, about Sextortion, about what we can do in law enforcement, victim services, to provide support, to investigate these cases, but then also, what are we doing going forward? And one of the things we're doing is going to be releasing a poster campaign. We'll have a copy for you to look at. We're providing all these posters to our affiliate partners to do with what they feel is right for their communities, but it's giving that information to victims. You are not alone, and it is not your fault. Those are the biggest things that we can provide to these children that are being sextorted. You're not alone, and please know it's not your fault. Like the Attorney General said, we see about 2 to 3 of these a week. These come in mostly from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as cyber tips. These tips are treated with the highest priority. We receive them as an escalated tip. We reach out to the local law enforcement agency where that child is located at, and we request welfare checks for those children because of the tendency for suicides related to these types of cases. My fellow partner, Sean Pierce, and Pauline will talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that is our big worries, is suicide tendencies with these types of cases and children committing suicide because they feel they have no outs. So having that message of you're not alone and that it's not your fault is why it's so important to get that out to our state, to these children that are being targeted by these criminals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Pierce from San Jose, California.
Thank you, Jesse. My name's Sergeant Sean Pierce from San Jose, California, Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force Commander. Here with me is Pauline Stewart, and as you can see, she's holding a picture of her son, Ryan. Ryan lost his life to sextortion on February 26, 2022. Ryan won't graduate college. He won't have children, all for a senseless crime. Pauline joined my team about 1.5 years ago to give awareness to parents out there and awareness to law enforcement. Myself and Pauline have been traveling the country ever since, giving the talk, getting Ryan's name out there, and giving public awareness to this senseless crime. This crime is sweeping the country right now. It's completely out of control. Unfortunately, Pauline is one of almost 24 young teenage boys that have lost their life to sextortion. So I have 2 messages. My first message is to anybody out there that is criminally involved in sextortion. Just know that law enforcement across the country and ICACs across the country are not going to stop. We will not give up. We will keep fighting until there is no more parents like Pauline that have to go through this. My second message is to the parents of children out there, is just to make sure that you understand the dangers of the internet and that your child understands the dangers of the internet. That is our message that we're pushing out there, is tell somebody. Kids don't know what to do. They panic. We always tell our children, don't do this, don't do that, but we never really tell them what to do if that happens. And I think that's the message that is going out with Jesse, and it's going out in California too, is to know that you're not alone, it's not your fault, and most importantly, you're not in trouble. A lot of these young boys think that they're in trouble for what they did, and we're trying to put that message out there. You're not in trouble. Tell somebody. There are people to help you out there. Thank you.
Great. Well, first, I'm happy to open up for questions in just a minute, assuming I can get the frog out of my throat. But thank you to Special Agent in Charge Jesse Crow. Thank you, Sean, for talking a bit about the work you're doing. Pauline, thank you for your courage and for in the face of a truly tragic circumstance for working to help keep kids safe around the country. I also want to thank South Carolina ICAC Commander Kevin Atkins, who's joining us, and Michigan ICAC Commander Wesley Smith. So thank you all for being here. With that, we're happy to answer any questions.
So in this new day and age, there's now AI, and AI has become heavily used in certain cases like this. So is this something that your department is looking at and potentially changing laws regarding AI and sextortion?
Yes is the answer. As you may know, Wisconsin recently is looking at legislation, I believe passed legislation this session, that relates to this specific topic. There are a couple ways that this is becoming relevant. One is there are now AI-generated images that are out there. It becomes very difficult with AI to determine whether an image is AI-generated or not. It also means that there are additional tools, though, that we can use to help detect illegal activity online. And so there's also the possibility that this can be used to help keep folks safe. I joined a multi-state letter requesting federal action on this issue. But the reality is that as a result of AI, there are going to be a lot of images generated. This is already an area where, while there has been support, we need to continue to support investment in investigations and prosecutions. Because, as I mentioned before, this is one of the areas where our kids spend their lives now. Kids and adults have phones, they've got social media. Keeping our communities safe, keeping kids safe online is a key to overall public safety. And AI is going to make that challenge even more difficult. So this is an area where we continue to be engaged, and I expect that that's not going to change anytime soon.
And correct me if I'm wrong, in Wisconsin, is it legal to possess AI-generated images? Or is
Do you want to give the update?
changing?
Yeah,
Yes.
Jesse worked on this legislation, so
Okay.
he can.
Yeah, we had the law was signed on March 28th by the governor. It's 948.125. Makes possession of digital images or computer images of child sexual abuse material illegal, and same penalties as possession of actual child pornography. So,
One thing I'll just add to that, part of what makes this so dangerous is, I mentioned AI-generated images before, but that doesn't mean the fact that an image is AI-generated doesn't mean that there aren't real harms to kids, because what can happen with AI is that an image that is very similar to somebody's appearance can be made. An image that uses sounds from a person or part of an image can be combined with AI. So there are a lot of real potential harms here, and this is something that, with this new legislation, I expect we're going to see law enforcement enforcing cases soon and taking very seriously.
And a couple days ago, Meta announced that they were going to have this auto blur technology that they're going to start introducing. Was that something you were discussing out in Washington or anything like that you could talk about?
Well, what I can say is that it's vital that social media companies play a role in protecting our kids' safety. I will say that their record is not great. We filed suit along with a number of other states against Meta. Not specifically in this area, but with respect to the practices that they engage in with keeping kids, we've alleged, addicted to social media platforms. So it's vital that these companies step up and do the right thing. But for those of us who have enforcement authority and for congressional actors and overseers, as well as state legislatures, making sure that we continue to keep pressure on these companies so that we encourage them to do the right thing is critically important. Great. Well, thank you all for being here today. We appreciate it.